Hi everyone and welcome to our week 5. First of all, congratulations on submitting your first assessment. This is really big step. And as you know, at Swinburne Online we do allow constructivism, and constructivism requires us to look at learning as a process of acquiring meaning or making sense of what we learn. And this is an example of my understanding of what family-centered practice is. So with this mind map kind of thing, or conceptual map, I invite you also to consider family-centered practice as a template for your own mind mapping or concept mapping or reflection, and try to make sense of it like I did. We have 3 key readings this week. So as you know, this is an evidence paper based on Victorian framework, and it's practice principle 1, family-centered practice. That's the one. So highly recommended for reading, as it is beautiful and contains a lot of interesting ideas. Also, family-centered practice paper based on Victorian early years learning and development framework. And as you know, principle 1 is family-centered practice. And finally, a great paper, very interesting to read, full of anecdotes from practice by McNaughton, Glenda McNaughton, Welcoming Parents but Not Really in This Space. So there are some challenges in inviting parents or engaging them in collaboration. So a couple of things I want you to pay attention to this week. Family-centered practice is based on many other concepts that you already know by now. So as you can see here, it's a concept of attachment. So that's how parents are actually considered as experts and primary caregivers and educators of their children. As you know, children are attached to their caregivers, and this attachment actually is very important for us as educators too, because that's how we build our attachments in the same manner. However, this attachment with the parents and families or important significant others in children's life, as you know, they are more important for many reasons. And our role is to at least respect it, but family-centered practice requires us to go further and be more proactive in building bonds with the families as well in order to improve the outcomes for the children. So as you can see, effective family-centered practice leads to many good things for our children. Children will look after. So literacy outcomes, attitude becomes better, emotional bond strengthened between educator and the child, continuity between family and home, childcare center or kindergarten, school and home, and performance is becoming better, and many other things. Another concept that you might already know is belonging. So that's from EYLF. And as you know, children develop their sense of identity, and belonging is one of the major concepts. But they do associate their early identity with their families a lot. If you actually worked with children, you probably noticed that they love to talk about their families. And inclusive environment is another concept you might be aware of if you've done play and learning environment units. So you know that we have to create inclusive environments, but in this case, not only for the children, but for their families too. So in other words, do we have space in our center where families feel included, where you can actually talk to the families, and do they have spaces on the walls or in your documentation corner where they can actually contribute? So because families are experts and primary educators of their children, our main role is to respect their caregiving style. And I invite you to go back and revisit your test quiz results on parenting style, and you remember that some of you identified as yourself as active parents, some identify yourself as authoritarian parents or authoritative parents, and some might actually get similar marks or like results between permissive and authoritarian. You will meet all sorts of families while working in early childhood or primary school, and definitely will be surprised by this diversity. So respecting their caregiving style requires a lot of open mind, I would say, and patience, and actually attitude that they are all different. There are 5 elements that I think we should remember, and we can include in our discussions. 5 elements of family-centered practice. You might consider actually to include these 5 elements in your analysis for your case study assessment too. So as you can see, family-centered practice is always strengths-based. I think I misspelled this word, but anyway, you know what I mean. We'll look at families as like at their best, and we try to see what they're doing well. Yes, so we don't look at deficits, we look at what's going on in terms of, like, in positive terms. Choice and decision making. That's all about inviting them in decision making. Then element number 3, collaboration. So parents and educators make a team and working towards the best outcomes for their children. Also, it should be sensitive, inclusive, and flexible. So that makes a lot of sense, taking into account cultural diversity and different family structures that we discussed earlier. Also, family activities, one of the key elements of family-centered practice, rather effective family-centered practice. What does it mean? It means that some typical routines in the family you should be aware of. So what children actually do, let's say on a weekend or at nights or on holidays, where do they go? Do they go to the shops, visit grandparents? What do they do at home? Do they play with their siblings, or do they have aunties, uncles involved? So all these things are really important for us as educators to know in order to recreate or at least develop similar experiences or incorporate those experiences into our program and curriculum and planning. So this is how I understand family-centered practice, and I invite you to also construct your own knowledge, whether it would be a mind map or just a verbal response. Do not hesitate posting videos or audio responses. As you know, Blackboard is like really good system, allows us to do many things in many ways. I'm looking forward to your responses, and have a good week. Bye.